leaked footage from Wagner boss Vingy Prigozhin shows what he purports is mercenaries dancing in the center of Bakhmut. But can we actually triangulate where this is taking place and why are they carrying musical instruments? Let's get into it. Okay, you may be like, Paul, you don't have your headphones on. Well, it's because there's no music to this. So let's look. First off, there's a couple of really interesting details. The first is that this flag, you may be able to see, it's not the conventional Wagner mercenary group symbol. It looks like a yellow circle with some sort of cross. And it's not clear. I haven't seen this before, but if you guys in the comments can give me any context, I'm here for it. I have only seen the Wagner mercenary symbol that is the skull, though this could represent an individual unit within Wagner Group. You can also see they're carrying guitars. This man appears to be playing a trombone. But when we look closer, we can see there's even more interesting details. This individual here, it's notable because he's wearing a Soviet-era greatcoat. And these are wool coats that were originally issued in the First World War. Let's see. Military surplus. And these are really interesting. Here we go. Russian army soldier. They're sometimes called greatcoats. So in the this is the Soviet era. This was a essential part of a soldier's gear. This isn't a fashion statement. These greatcoats would be functionally, they had a bunch of functions, but they were cold weather. They're wool coats, and think of them as a mid layer if you're an outdoorsman. So you have your conventional cotton uniform that's worn underneath the coat. And this then provides an insulating layer. Think of it as a sleeping bag that you wear. And then your outer layer is actually a waterproof poncho that is covered in wax. And Soviet soldiers would oftentimes basically have their own ranger role, as we called it in the US, where they would wrap themselves in their waterproof poncho and their greatcoat, sort of curl up, somewhere out of the wind, and that would be a shelter, right? And because the poncho was water resistant, they would remain dry. So it's a really simple piece of it's what the Soviet military did best. Simple equipment, conceptually very straightforward, but very, very effective. And you can see, because it's so big and billowy, it still would enable you in most cases to have at least your front kit. If you were wearing a plate carrier, you could at least still access your front kit and anything along if you were wearing like a duty belt or something. So you can see this is a nice touch and a throwback to the Soviet era, but also a reminder of how unmodern the Wagner or Russian military is, but especially the Wagner Group. You can see here, they know they're hamming it up for the drone, dancing. Now, why are they using musical instruments? Well, the Wagner's self-appointed nickname is the Musicians, because Wagner Group is, of course, a reference to the composer Wagner, actually a German composer. And it's not, I don't actually know the lore of why they chose Wagner, but now, of course, that nickname is something that I think they wish it stuck better than, their other nickname of inmates or war criminals or mercenaries. So you can see they're hamming it up at what looks like a block of multi-rise buildings that have been just obliterated. Let's take a look here. The screen should cut away. So you can see there's some areas that used to be open, and then there's this looks like maybe two tall buildings connected by a central courtyard or plaza. So let's see if I'm going to make my best guess. Oh, look, he's got a selfie stick. See this dude at the bottom right here? Let's see. Tell me this doesn't look like a selfie stick. Yeah. Okay. You can see. Yeah. There's like a. yeah, like a courtyard maybe surrounded by these buildings. Here's where I think this is taking place. So this was shot, or this was released March 2nd. So when we look at the map, you can see areas where Russian forces have some level of control. This is actually the most granular map that I have. And you can see here that I suspect it's possibly one of these buildings or one of these here, but it's something probably to the east of this formation. So, but you can see this looks like a fairly developed area. It looks like it could be multi-story. It could also be this building here, because you notice how this has a those 90-degree connections. It has these interior courtyards. So let's take a look at the satellite photos and see if we can get a little bit more granular detail. All right, and we zoom in. Man, shout out to Google. Google, just look at the... First off, let's get a date. So this is 2023, and we can see why, because these buildings look obliterated. So that means there's been, at the time this satellite photo was taken, it's still pretty, Bakhmut is still pretty destroyed. But you can see they've really worked hard. They've gotten some pretty high resolution photos here. Again, a testament to the sort of, I guess, frightening power of civilian imagery. I mean, just imagine, right? If you were a military analyst in the 1990s and you saw photos like this, you would need to have access to a top secret classified satellite for this caliber of photo. I mean, look at this. You can see like the individual trees. Okay, so but when we look, we can see these are actually fairly low buildings. But right here, this looks a lot like it. You can see first off, the color is approximately correct to the buildings. You can see there is a second level on top of an existing level. So here, it looks like this is a complete building. We can see here that it looks like there's at least 4 stories to this, plus a number here. These look like they could be cars. So we could have the elevated buildings here forming that courtyard that we saw, or even right here. And they could be filming this maybe right here, because you notice there is some open spaces kind of around this. So this is the building I think they're filming in, would be my guess. If I had to make another guess, I don't think there's any other building that's tall enough or big enough. Yeah, that's really it. Every other one of these other buildings you can see here, these are residential streets. They don't offer the commanding heights that one did. Yeah, there's almost no other possibility that's even an area that's even remotely contested. So pointing this out, right? Sayonara ALC, is this a hospital, I think? It's a manufacturer. So when we zoom out, right? Oh yeah, this looks about right. Let's see the photos. Yeah, I think this is it. Let's see. I wonder if this is a more recent one. No, this is from March 2020. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, look at this. You can see. Let's see. We could see right, yeah. You see this little outcropping? I think that is like this here. It's just been obliterated. Yeah, I highly think this is it. This is the facility. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we've determined where this was filmed. And so we can fairly safely say that this is where they're located. But I want to just point out that while this is significant progress, I want to point out what it's not. This key water obstacle here is not actually listed as being Russian controlled. Other maps, of course, do have Russian forces as having entered this suburban development, but they're still a long way from the major city center of Bakhmut. And I think that's itself pretty important to note, is that this is really the heart of Bakhmut, and Russian forces are not yet occupying it. Which you're like, wow, Russia, propaganda? No way. Unthinkable. Yeah, I know, right? So you can see here, these guys also, they're probably quite a bit further. The actual line of contact is probably considerably ahead of this. And the reason I say that is because this is not a military formation, right? You would never go up to an elevated position and then dance around in front of a drone unless the area was very secure or you were very stupid, both of which are a real possibility given the low level of training of Wagner's mercenaries. But chances are, I think these guys are probably have a line of contact that's quite a bit ahead of these. So what does this mean? To me, this is a sign that incrementally the Wagner mercenaries and the Russian armed forces are making their way into Bakhmut itself as part of what I think is a controlled Ukrainian withdrawal from the area. But you guys can see what they've won. And the answer is nothing. This place is completely obliterated, truly. It's hard to understate how much destruction has been wrought on this city just so that the Russians could occupy it. Anyway, guys, that's all I had for you for right now. Of course, if you want access to the combat video breakdowns, the intense helmet cams from Ukraine and from Russia, we break down the tactics, the tech, the gear, but we have to do it all on the Patreon. YouTube's terms of service, they want less and less war content on their platform, so I do more and more of it on Patreon. Plus, it's a great way to support the channel. Thanks to my Colonel tier patrons, Melissa Janeway, Tad Rockwell, Derek Chang, EC1978, Predator 7R, Judith Haynes, Robin Colburn, all my Lieutenant tier patrons, and all of you guys. Links in the description. Catch you later.